Thanks, everybody. Welcome to this webinar. Let me also start thanking everybody who has been part of this process. I'm going to give an overview on the objectives of the knowledge water hub, and also the questionnaire that we went through. Let's go to the next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yes. As Professor Anna mentioned, the previous slide. Yeah. This is a collaborative effort, actually, between no. Natalie, previous, please. Yes, that's there. This is a collaborative effort between Water Leads and Global Water Partnership, and the whole idea was to enhance knowledge uptake, within policy making processes, but also within also wide audiences and stakeholders in the water sector. And when we came up with this idea, first of all, was how do you go about it? One thing that, of course, we are going to see it in our the outcome of the survey was looking at how we can synthesize information, knowledge, and bring it to materials that actually the targeted audience require. And we'll be able to appreciate that in the presentation which I'm going to give in a short while. And what we thought, okay, let's start with piloting with ongoing projects at Water Leads, and then engage other partners also. And of course, that's what we are going to discuss at the end of this presentation. Next slide, please. Yeah, so most of you, and I really appreciate your efforts. We had a questionnaire that we ran between April and June. Actually, the objective of that questionnaire was threefold. One was to assess the generation patterns of knowledge. How is knowledge generated? And for your information, we targeted actually participants or individuals, researchers, on basically looking at East and Southern Africa region. And maybe I could explain this. The participants came from different institutions, which you're going to see now. But I took a very keen interest to apportion the numbers. Of course, I didn't get it very well because of some of them were declining the invitation to answer very few questions. So I had to maintain that pattern as much as I could, so that the outcome could make scientific meaning at the end of the day. The other objective was to look at to assess the knowledge consumption patterns. Consumption means like how do people they like reading journal articles, reports. How do they also appreciate that consumption pattern? The other one was to establish preference. How do people prefer these knowledge products? So those are the three areas that that questionnaire actually targeted. Next slide, please. Yeah, we had an interesting pattern. Actually, I sent that questionnaire to 101 participants, and 64 responded, and that was very good. And I appreciate all of you who participated. If you look at that picture there, we had different. We sent that questionnaire to different people in different institutions. You can see from government ministries, from also NGOs, research. You can see NGOs was around 29-30%. Then, interestingly, government ministry and research institutions all had around 18%. So that was very important for us, because when we have that interface between government, policymakers, research, and practitioners, I'm calling that like practitioners, then we call what you have triple helix concept being realized. So this is a picture like how we managed to get responses from our participants. Next slide, please. Yeah, so I'm going to take you through the outcome of the questionnaire. So I'll be systematic. On the right side, we shall be looking at the consumption pattern of knowledge. Sorry, on the left side. On the right side will be the generation pattern of knowledge. So I asked a question like, when was your last time, for look at the left side, you read a journal article? You can see most of them are say last week or last month, last 3 months. So 32%, like 33% said had read a journal article last week. Then you can see the other which follow around 25% say last month. Then when you look at the generation pattern of these journal articles, you can see actually most of them said they had never authored. And I understand some of them, of course, are coming from different. They are not maybe from the research perspective, but you can see even researchers can say over 1 year, last 3 months. So you see, like there's a limited generation of research outputs, while on the left side we see there's an interest in research output. So this from the analytical side, we need to balance this, and which we need to look at it from the knowledge hub management. Maybe you can go to the next slide, please. Then ask a question. When was your last time you read a technical report? On the left side. On the right hand side, ask a question. When was your last time you authored a technical report? You can see on the left hand side, reading. Actually, people say last week I read a technical report, last 1 month, last 3 months, and 29%, like 30% said I read a technical report last week. Then when you go to the right hand side, authoring technical reports, you can see most of them, they say I've never authored a report, which is, I think the highest around 24%. Then you see, basically it's like 3 months, like maybe over 1 year. So you see, on the right hand side, there's a limited capacity to document knowledge. But on the left hand side, you see the interest in updating knowledge. So there's a gap there. And that's what we can see now, where the interface and what the knowledge hub, exchange hub, what can it play to have at least that to bridge this gap? So let's go to the next slide, please. Then I asked a question like, when was your last time you read popular articles like newspapers but on water governance? I remember all these questions are related to water governance. And then on the right hand side, ask a question, when was your last time you authored a popular article? And you can see very clearly on the left hand side, like consumption, there's a huge interest in updating current affairs. They said I read last week, I read last month. But when you go to the right hand side, actually see there's less capacity or interest in producing or doing what I could say outreach, educating the masses. And because people, the masses, like today, many people read newspapers, and that's where actually researchers can play a huge role to reach the masses. Many people don't access technical reports, they don't access or read journal papers, but they read these popular articles, and that's why maybe how the knowledge exchange hub can come in, so that we can bridge this gap. The next slide, please. Then one thing that is quite interesting now, and which is all over now, is to do with audiovisual. I asked a question, when was your last time you watched a short video on water governance? That is on the left hand side. Then on the right hand side, I asked a question, when was your last time you created a short video on water governance? And the pattern is the same. You see that watching video, actually, many people watch videos. It's like, say, last week I watched, 1 month, many, like 42% I watched over last week. But when you come to the generation part of it, we have actually say, most of them say 42%. Actually, they are matching. 22% say, I've never created any video. And you see the demand from the power, from the consumption side is huge. but it is not met with the generation capacity that can meet the demand. So it means there's a huge gap there that need to be met, and that's we can address it through the knowledge hub. Let's go to the next slide, please. Yeah, then I asked a question on the channels. For example, you choose the best three channels that you want to access information on water resource governance. You can see many, of course, like it's like, okay, how do you access information in water resource governance? See, around 42%, because I asked everybody to choose three best. 42% say they access it, they through subscribed emails. But you can see Twitter and WhatsApp group is also strongly coming out, especially WhatsApp. So this also has an implication, like how do we now repackage our knowledge or the quite good information or knowledge that we generate from the science? How can we repackage it, and which channels can we use to reach the masses? So that's another way how we can look at it, and we're going to answer it in shortly. Next slide, please. Yes, then we realized that the channels that we mentioned above were not, we gave I should say, can you mention other channels that you use for accessing information? So you can see there is actually many. I'll just summarize that. There are many. You can see from LinkedIn and Google Scholar, ResearchGate. So people actually, even word of mouth websites, they use a lot of other channels in accessing information. And when we document all this, we can also even come up with preferences. And of course, it will depend on the kind of stakeholders we're dealing with, because each stakeholder might be interested in a particular channel. So as we are building our momentum, we have to be cognizant of this kind of information. Next slide, please. Then we asked an interesting question to the participants, like what information actually you need but do not have in water resource governance. Actually, this is a summary. I think I received. I just tried to summarize, but this is huge. So this is actually knowledge gap. They need this information because and the participants may clearly say that this is what they need. And this also an interesting thing also to researchers. Maybe in any area, how can we address this? Of course, from the research point of view, but also how can we also mold these information gaps that the participants or say stakeholders in the various kind of domains what they need. It was quite interesting, and you can see various ways on even hydropolitics and water diplomacy. This is very good for researchers to look at. Next slide, please. Then we asked them also the best mediums for receiving information. We were cognizant of the fact that they know, and we are going back, like for example, remember we started with the scientific journals like consumption and generation, technical reports like that. So we also asked them, what are the best medium for receiving information? We asked them, choose the best three. And you can see scientific journals and summaries of research and technical reports actually attracted the best. For example, they all have 43%. But still, we have policy briefs and technical reports also coming into that. But the other thing that also has a good kind of attraction is short videos. So this information shows us how the different ways how we can reach the masses and audiences. Which channels can we use? Because as I've been speaking to other policymakers, they are tired of having huge reports, huge technical reports. And that's why they say summaries of research and technical reports. That's actually what they want to hear or they want to see. Of course, I understand we had around 40% of people responding to this from researchers. That's why they said also they want also from the scientific journals. But still, you can see the summaries are quite strong, policy brief very strong, and also with also to do with the short videos. And next slide, please. Then we also asked the participants, like they required to know, because there are other thematic areas apart from water resources governance, what other areas or what information from other areas they do not have. They need, but they do not have. And you can see plenty of areas, even from non-revenue water, that's to do with the water resource supply, and of course the politics in water resource management. You can see for water security, water sector participation, private sector participation. No, you can see the huge demand of knowledge in the water sector, in the bigger spectrum of water sector. But these are the areas that participants, they mentioned that they need to have. So these are a challenge also to the researchers and even the practitioners, so that we can fill this knowledge gap. Next slide, please. Yeah. Then we ask a very interesting question, like, from the participant's perspective, what could the knowledge hub, what other role could the knowledge hub do? Actually, this is a very summarized version of the responses. I received more than around, it was around 120 responses. So they are actually, it's a burden now to the knowledge hub, because they are saying, okay, can you do this? Do this. Mentoring fresh graduates, no? Providing best practices, developing inventory of local expertise, becoming data center. So of course we cannot do everything really, like capacity building in public sector, advocacy, research on water issues. So, but you can see the huge, this actually is a demand, and this puts a demand from the knowledge perspective, and that's why we need to partner with many other partners, because these are demand from the sector. How can we meet this demand? And that's why, of course, this webinar is all about, also to partner so that we can meet the demands of the sector. Next slide, please. Yeah, so in short, to summarize my presentation, actually our long-term vision is to establish partnership with other partners. So that, as Professor Anne mentioned in the beginning, we want to co-produce a plan, long-term plan on how to address this huge demand. There's a very huge demand on knowledge management in the water sector. It's a pilot because we started it on the water governance, but you can see from the responses, the water sector is huge, and there are quite many demands from the sector that need to be met. And actually, we start from the known to the unknown. We are starting with the known because we have this kind of a support to start with the research from University of Leeds. But if you look at it now, from the response from the participants from Southern Africa and Eastern African region, and even participants who are also from Europe, because we targeted this questionnaire for participants also from other areas who have experience in Southern Africa and Eastern Africa region. And this is very clear, actually, there's a huge demand. So we are starting from the known to the unknown, and we welcome everybody to be part of the vision. Thank you very much.